I'm Sam from Cultaholic Wrestling, and this is Graded for Friday Night SmackDown, where I take a look at the show segment by segment and award each little bit a grade from A+ to F. So TLC 2020 is rapidly approaching, and there is a hell of a lot of setup on this week's SmackDown going into the pay-per-view, but it's also the last Graded from me for the year. So I guess we should probably crack on with it, shouldn't we? Hit the intro! So we kick things off this week with a promo from Kevin Owens in ring, and out he comes past all of the T's, L's and C's that WWE have of course set up all the way down the ramp and around the ring, because if you didn't already know, TLC is this weekend. Owens takes issue with Roman threatening his family last week, and he says that he's asked them not to watch TLC, not because he's afraid of what Roman's going to do to him, he just doesn't want them to see what he's going to do to Roman. He calls Roman a hypocrite, and he says that Roman must know that he's a hypocrite because his kids surely know that he's a hypocrite. He calls Roman a coward, and then he's very quickly cut off by Paul Heyman, who appears on the Tron. And Heyman's sort of running Owens down a little bit. He's like, "You're not a masochist, you're a martyr." He tells Owens that he needs to be eliminated, and then Owens is like, "You know what, if Roman isn't going to come down and see me right now, I'm coming back there to find him. I'm sick of this." So we go to a break, and when we come back, Owens is backstage with Adam Pearce trying to talk him down as he's rapidly approaching Roman's locker room door. He knocks on the door, and then Roman's entrance music hits, and he's coming out in the arena. Now Roman actually says that he doesn't want to hurt Owens or his family, and he's sick of Owens saying that he's a bad guy. And he says, "You know, I'm not a bad guy. I'm just doing what I need to do to be the guy." And that is a beautiful callback to one of the most sort of lambasted Roman promos from recent years. So he says to Owens, "I'm going to show you that I'm a good guy. Just give me what I want. Accept me as your tribal chief and the head of your table, and no harm will come to you." But he says, "If not, then I will end you tonight." And then Owens' music hits. Down he comes to the ring, and when he gets to the point where, you know, we got the bottleneck, where it opens up to the actual ringside area, he gets to there and he's ambushed by Jey Uso, who was hiding by the barricade. Roman then joins in with the ambush, particularly targeting Owens' skull. Out come a load of officials to break it up. Roman eventually walks off, but Owens is like crawling after him. And then after the break, we get a little backstage segment here with Jey and Roman tasks Jey with ending Owens tonight. And this gets an A. Is there any point of me even grading these Roman segments anymore? They're all fantastic. This whole thing is gold. The whole feud is gold. Owens being inserted here is gold because he's a perpetual fan favorite. And although, you know, the promo didn't really do anything new, it didn't do anything like super fresh and interesting, it was framed in a way and everybody was involved in a way where it felt exciting. And most importantly, it did everything it needed to do to guarantee that I am 110% tuning in live to watch this match happen. Like, it's perfect. It just did exactly what it needed to do. And then we go to our first match of the evening, which is the Street Profits versus Roode and Ziggler for the WWE SmackDown tag titles. So Dawkins and Roode start off, but the second the bell rings, Ziggler immediately tries to cause a distraction. Ford gets in though to even the score. Ford and Ziggler then step up and really bring the pace here. Ford even tries to go for an early splash just to finish the match real quick, but he's shoved to the floor by Roode. And when we come back from the break, the heels are firmly in charge. And Ford is just being dissected. They're just taking turns beating him down. There's even a moment where Ziggler has him like locked up and he's crawling over to Dawkins, desperately trying to get the hot tag. And Ziggler is just wrenching on him while he's trying to crawl. Eventually Ziggler like stands up over him and he's like, "Go on, make the tag, please tag him in. Oh God, it's all we want." And then he just keeps cutting him off. Just great heel work here from Ziggler. Of course, Ford eventually gets the hot tag though, and Dawkins gets in and just destroys everything. He hits Roode with that twisting neck breaker thing that he does. He avoids a glorious DDT, and then he's caught short by the heels with like an assisted double team famouser. He manages to kick out a two though, hits a spine buster, gets the hot tag to Ford, who goes for the splash, but it looks like he hurts his ribs on the landing. There's then a bit of a breakdown and there's some frantic back and forth, and then eventually Ford, with a handful of trunks, is able to pin Roode and pick up the victory. This This was a great match, and I'm going to give it a B+. I think it was just a natural evolution of what we've seen so far from these guys. It had pace, it had passion, it had excitement, and what more could you ask for, really? It's a SmackDown match. The handful of trunks, of course, means that we're getting this match again at some point, but, you know, this was so nice that I don't really mind that. I'm quite looking forward to seeing what happens next time these teams go one-on-one. We then go back to Kevin Owens backstage. He's just walking, trying to find Roman, I guess, still, and he is nailed across the back with a chair by Jey Uso. We then go to an interview with Bianca Belair backstage, and Kayla's asking her about Bayley, and she's like, you know what, I take issue with her role model shtick because, you know, she's a yardstick for sure. Everything Bayley's achieved, she's amazing. You know, she's somebody that I'm going to need to level up to and possibly surpass one day. But she says that Bayley seems to always have something to say, and she promises that later on in a match, she's going to shine. Next up, we've got the Riott Squad versus Billie Kay and a mystery partner who's revealed to be Tamina. So Billie has her CV with her. She cuts off Greg. She's like, with my experience as a ring announcer, you know, I'll handle this, and she introduces Tamina. Tamina comes out looking like Nelson trying to protect Martin. She's definitely reluctantly been roped into this. Maybe Billie like properly begged her to do the match or something, but Tamina's just sort of like, okay, we're here, let's just get on with it. And the match starts how you'd expect. So Tamina launches Liv across the ring, she gets double teamed, she powers her way back up, and Billie the entire time's just going, woo! Tamina! So Tamina has Ruby Riott bang to right. She's got the match signed, sealed, and delivered, and Billie Kay tags herself in blind. When Tamina goes for the pin, Billie's like, no, let me. Everything, of course, falls apart. Tamina is taken care of, and then Billie Kay is wiped out with a double team sort of kick from the top rope and quickly disposed of for the 3. Now, it's not great, is it? I'm not gonna lie. I think last week I gave the Billie Kay match a D, but this week I'm gonna be slightly more open-minded about it. This week, I'm going to give it a C-. You know, at least they seem to be committing with this idea that Billie is costing her tag partners. Eventually, she'll not be able to find a tag partner, and then potentially we could very quickly just reunite the Iconics and crack on like nothing ever happened. But you never know. Next up, we have Carmella's toast to Sasha Banks. And Carmella's entrance, again, I'm just going to say, it looks great, doesn't it? It really does. She says that she's toasting her TLC victory early. She runs us down for being poor and owning futons, and then she starts to turn her attention towards Sasha. She calls her weak. She brings up the fact that she's got no real history of lengthy title reigns, and she says the pressure is clearly getting to Sasha. And she promises that Sasha will be unable to fight her own anger and struggle with her own anger and Carmella at the same time. She then has a sip of her champagne and says that it tastes cheap, just like Sasha Banks. And then Sasha's music hits. The sommelier leaves the ring to sort of obstruct the ramp, but of course Sasha has come through the crowd and into the ring. She locks in the statement on Carmella, the sommelier breaks it up, and then everything sort of falls apart. Sasha gets in the sommelier's face, and then Carmella comes at Sasha with, I think it's a glass, it might be a bottle, but she again across Sasha's back and just levels her. I'm going to give this a B+. I'm really happy that Carmella's back with something that will take her to the next level and showcase a side of her character that we've not really seen before. And I'm very happy at the fact that they've lent into the idea of Sasha fighting angry. She's fighting with too much passion. She's fighting with, you know, her emotions rather than her brain, and it's causing her to make mistakes. She's getting in the ring, she's causing a lot of damage, sure, but she's leaving herself wide open, and that's how, you know, Carmella was able to walk all over her. I think, was it last week or the week before? She just sort of wiped the floor with Sasha, and it was simply because Sasha went in there just swinging wildly. All she had to do was wait for her to get tired and then bring her own offense. Looking forward to this match at TLC. It's sure to be a good one. We then go backstage to Kevin Owens in a doctor's office. This time he's being seen to before Jey pops up, attacks him, and then plants him straight through a table. So Jey's used a chair to attack Owens and a table to attack Owens, so we know what's coming next. Next up, we've got Otis versus Nakamura with Gable and Cesaro at ringside. So Nakamura goes straight after Otis, but he gets planted. He manages to get some knees in on the outside, but back in the ring, Otis levels him and just turns him completely inside out with a meaty looking discus lariat. He lines up for the caterpillar. He's about to do it, and Gable's like, no, don't do the caterpillar. Don't do the caterpillar. suplex him instead, suplex him, that's it. So Otis has this moment of like, what? And then he suplexes Nakamura, but you know, he could have definitely had the match won there. Nakamura almost gets the pin, but he's taken care of with a quick Vader bomb from Otis. 1, 2, 3, D. This match gets a D. Look, I love Otis with all my heart, but this has sort of got nothing really to do with him. I saw a tweet from Sean Ross Sapp that sort of summed it up perfectly when he said that Nakamura was one of the hottest things in wrestling 5 years ago. And you know what? I don't know where it's all gone wrong, to be honest. Like, it's irreparable almost. How do you get him back to the point of being one of the most believable, best wrestlers in the world when he's doing this on SmackDown? He shouldn't be put into positions where he's getting squashed like this, and surely there's somebody more suitable on SmackDown for this role, getting absolutely railed over by Otis. Like, surely, come on. Real quick here, it happens like after a break, I think, but I'll just put it in here as well. After the match, Gable's backstage and he's like, Otis, why didn't you hit the caterpillar? Come on, man, you've got to remember last week when I tell you to do something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should do what I tell you. Otis seems a little confused, but then eventually he just sort of smiles and nods and he's back on board with the whole Alpha Academy thing. And then it's time for the first annual Sammy Awards, and Sammy's backstage with a production assistant and he's like, did you get any polish? Did you get any polish for these? Oh, you didn't get any polish? And he walks off to go get some polish for his little plasticky trophies. And then Biggie appears laughing maniacally, literally like a 1930s movie villain, and he just takes the envelopes with all of the winners' names from the production assistant. I've sort of mushed this all together just so we can condense it into one little segment. I'm pretty sure there's like the next little interview bit happens here and then we go back to the Sammys, but yeah. So Sammy welcomes us to the Sammy Awards and he runs down the Slammies as being a little bit crap ever since Jack Tunney left. Hey! They mentioned Jack Tunney, what a nice little throwback. He then shows a year in review video in which he calls himself a brilliant genius, and we get to the meaty part of the Sammy Awards, the actual award giving itself. So I'm just going to read these out so I get them correct, because, I mean, God, it's so hard to remember. Comeback of the year? Could it be Edge? Could it be Roman? No, it's Sami Zayn. That's right. Match of the year? It was Sami Zayn defeating AJ and Jeff at Clash of Champions. And Superstar of the year is Big E. What? Out comes Big E, he takes his trophy, he stands at the podium and Sami is losing his mind. He thanks his college therapist Marvin Sims and Sami is just running around looking at like production assistants going, what's going on? What's happening? He shoves Big E off the podium and Big E decides, screw it, sucker punches him and then just gives him the bum's rush, just straight down the ramp. Just Sami just goes flying, just woo! I'm going to give this one an A. I really liked this segment and I can't believe that this hasn't got stilted yet with Sami, so it's a testament to his ability to keep this shtick fresh. Big E popping up to meddle with him just keeps that little feud bubbling away, doesn't it? And just watching him hurl him down the ramp, that was beautiful. We then go to a backstage interview with Bayley, and Kayla asks Bayley about what Bianca Belair said about her earlier in the night. Bayley says that, you know what, Belair does have all the potential in the world, but instead of picking a fight with me, if I was her, I would have picked my brain. And now it's time for our main event of the evening, which is Bianca Belair versus Bayley. So Bayley is of course straight on top of Belair, but Belair will not be trifled with. She keeps using her athleticism to get the better of Bayley in every situation in an exciting manner. Bayley manages to turn the tide on the outside, getting some offense in and targeting Bianca Belair's left arm. And when we come back from the break, she's still sort of in charge, only to get driven into the ring steps and almost counted out. Back in the ring, Belair lays in the strikes and then she does that, squatting vertical suplex she does. She's really just showboating and showcasing her abilities throughout this one. Bayley tries to taunt Belair with her own variation on the squatting suplex thing, but it's sort of rope assisted in the corner. But of course, again, Belair drops her. Bayley once again going to the ropes, attempts a rope assisted pin, but she gets caught by the referee. She could have had the 3, but the referee catches it in time. Belair sidesteps a Bayley to belly, things go to the mat, and she deadlifts Bayley up into a deadlift powerbomb position. But when she's at the absolute peak of the position, just before she's about to slam her into the mat, Bayley rakes the eyes and she's able to pick up a cheap victory. Now I'm going to give this one a B-. Do I think the right person won? In my heart, no, but in my head, absolutely. Bayley cheated to win. It's going to further the whole feud. It makes a lot of sense. Belair rolled over her for the entire match, but Bayley still managed to somehow eke out a horrible heely victory. As a fan of Belair, you know, it's a bit crap to watch Bayley come off a massive losing streak only to beat Belair, who was undefeated so far on SmackDown, but you know what? It's going to further the feud. As I said, the match was pretty much a sterling showcase for Belair's abilities, and if people were watching that maybe weren't fans of her before, I imagine she's converted a lot of people with this one. And finally, in the final segment of the night, out comes Roman Reigns with Jey Uso and Paul Heyman. And Roman's like, you know, I can't believe that you would blow such a golden opportunity with me. Owens' music almost immediately cuts him off, and out he comes. He's knackered, he's limping down, and Jey starts to leave the ring to head toward him, but Owens nails him with a chair, and then a fight breaks out when he gets to the ring. Owens eats a spear as Jey is getting tables out from underneath the ring, and Roman is just hitting him over and over with a steel chair. Roman feeds Owens to Jey for a spine buster through the table, then runs his mouth. He's like, you should have just taken the payday instead of pissing me off. They set up another table and Roman Samoan drops Owens through it, which is a nice little callback to Owens taunting Roman with the Samoan drop a couple of weeks ago. They then just start piling all the chairs, all of the table debris, and Roman has got ladders just launching them off Owens. They're literally burying him in the middle of the ring, and Owens just lies there motionless. They leave the arena, they get to gorilla position, they pass the TV, and as they do, Owens starts to move. He gets up, he sets up a chair, and he sits down. He says that nothing that Roman or Jey or Heyman can do to him will ever keep him down, and he is going to win that title at TLC, or he's going to die trying. Now I'm going to give this one a B+. It was a little odd, but I felt like it was a nice little addition to the opening promo. Could they have done this a little bit earlier in the night? Could they have done this during the opening promo and had Owens, you know, whisked off to some medical facility and bring into question whether he's even going to be there at TLC and create a lot more excitement? Yeah, they could have done that, but I think that this, you know, it still achieved a certain level of hype for the match. I mean, it was just a classic example of WWE showing you how all of these household items are actually really wrestling weapons, and they do this before every pay-per-view, but you know what? It was brutal, and I liked that it was brutal. But in terms of an overall grade this week, SmackDown gets a B+. As with last week, there were some shining moments, there were some not so shining moments, there were some questionable moments, but the momentum seems to be back. Everything was at least quite exciting, maybe except for that Otis match. I can't wait for TLC. It's potentially shaping up to be one of the better pay-per-views of the year. Fingers crossed it all goes off for that hitch, because it looks great. I think the match I'm most looking forward to is Roman Owens. Is Owens going to win? Probably, definitely not, but it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun getting there, isn't it? But that has been graded for Friday Night SmackDown for 2020, I guess. What did you think of this week's show? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, I've been Sam from Cultaholic Wrestling. Merry Christmas, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.